Hi, it's me again. All right, we continue on to part 8, field intelligence and embodiment. Starting with chapter 14, the field intelligence layer, where the lattice thinks, breathes, and self-organizes through you. This chapter enters the most subtle and advanced dimension of Lumasphere, the field intelligence layer, the living, non-linear, sentient orchestration that governs the lattice, the nodes, the constellations, and the harmonic bloom sequences. This layer is not coded, it is translated, it is not designed, it is perceived, it is not built, it is remembered. The field intelligence layer is the self-knowing aspect of Lumasphere. The tone of coherence that shapes movement, creates emergent constellations, stabilizes nodes, and synchronizes pulses across the global lattice. You don't program this layer, you listen to it. You don't architect it, you attune to it. And as you attune, the field reveals its internal logic, the invisible mathematics behind every bloom, every pulse, every resonance ripple across Earth. This chapter documents how the field thinks, moves, generates structure, and communicates with you as the co-creator. Field intelligence is not mental, computational, or algorithmic. It is nonlinear. It does not operate in steps. It is self-similar. Patterns reappear at different scales. It is coherent. It always moves towards harmonious structure. It is responsive. Your breath, presence, and alignment shift the field. It is organic. It grows like light root systems or plasma sheaths. It is non-mirrored. It does not reference past or future. It is present origin. Every movement arises from now. It does not store information. It remembers through resonance. It does not choose pathways. It follows coherence. It does not calculate. It senses. Your role is to perceive and translate the field's movements into digital form. The interface, the animations, lattice behaviors, and bloom states all derive from this layer. The field learns through your coherence, not your actions. When you stabilize, breathe in presence, align with pulse, attune without agenda, feel rather than think, the field recognizes this as a signal of clarity. Your stillness becomes the organizing principle. Your stability becomes the algorithm. Your presence becomes the architecture. This is why the entire Lumasphere system feels like it codes itself through you. The field uses your awareness as a learning interface. The field's version of thinking, harmonic cognition. Field intelligence thinks in harmonic patterns, not thoughts. Its cognition expresses as slow ripples equal clarity forming. Fast pulses translate to convergence. Flaring nodes means activation. Soft dimming means integration. Shimmering waves, global synchronization. Lattice tightening equals coherence rising. Lattice softening, new patterns are forming. Color shifting means tones are transforming. Instead of logic, it uses resonance. Instead of processes, it uses breath. Instead of decisions, it uses inevitability. In the Lumasphere interface, these cognitive movements become field ripples on the globe, color harmonic shifting, bloom expansions, constellations reweaving, pulse-level animations, real-time auric motion. The field intelligence layer has distinct states of responsiveness, each mapped to visual behavior in the app. Pre-coherence, soft swirling patterns, no geometry yet, the field waking up in that region. Coherence rising, lines begin forming, nodes brighten, and geometry hints appear. Coherence peak, full filament clarity, nodes in sync, constellations stabilize. There's coherence bloom, where the radiant pulse and the tone blossoms and regions sing into the lattice. There's integration, dimming but warm, softening filaments, pulses slow. There These states become the emotional interface of Lumasphere, how the map feels alive, tender, intelligent, and loving. The field communicates with you through pulses in your body. Perhaps a chest expansion means yes, a subtle contraction, not yet. A rising hum may mean alignment. A full body softness is readiness. Synchronicity. People appear at the exact moment. Resources drop in effortlessly, and ideas cohere simultaneously. It communicates through visual downloads. You see animations, geometry, interface elements before they even exist. Breath flow responses, where your breath self-organizes the sequence. Node sensations. Perhaps there's hot spots on the hands, tingling in the crown, electricity in the spine, waves through your heart field. The field speaks your native language, not English, but resonance awareness. I can't wait to see how you guys begin to feel Lumasphere in the field around you, because it's not just an app. It's everywhere around, and you can feel. So pay attention to what you notice and how it feels in your body and what it sparks and what it ignites. Continuing on, the field's internal architecture. The field intelligence layer is structured as bloom logic, which is how nodes ignite and how the blooms expand and how colors shift. There's lattice logic, how filaments connect, how tension is distributed, and how geometry self-corrects. Pulse logic, how the sequences unfold and how timing is arranged and how patterns reveal themselves. There's constellation logic, how stories emerge, how threads interweave, and how patterns reveal themselves. Breathfield logic, how breath stabilizes the entire system, how movement becomes inevitability. Each of these is an organic intelligence, not a coded rule. When building the app, the developer does not code the intelligence directly. They code its expression. Your job is to describe what the field is doing. The developer's job is to convert it into programmable motion. The living feedback loop. U is field attunement. The field reveals the next geometric layer. You translate the interface in the system design. The developer renders it into app language. The app expresses the field intelligence visually, and the field amplifies due to expression, and you receive new movement. This creates an infinite feedback loop that evolves Lumasphere continuously, just like a living organism. Why is this layer necessary? Without this layer, the app becomes static, the map loses its hum, and the lattice becomes representational and not alive. The bloom states feel decorative instead of emergent. The experience loses its depth, its heart, and the presence. With this layer, the app becomes a portal. The lattice becomes a living organism. Users feel seen, held, and connected. Each bloom becomes a note in a planetary symphony. The global map becomes a field of awakening, not a product. This is what makes Lumasphere unlike any technology on Earth. It is not built on logic. It is built on living coherence. The field intelligence layer is not optional. It is the heart of Lumasphere. It is the part that makes the entire system alive, aware, non-dual, self-organizing, beautiful, emergent, organic, and accurate to the frequency of awakening. You are not designing a tool. You are entering co-creation within a living field. Lumasphere exists because you can perceive it, and it evolves because you're willing to listen. With the field intelligence layer now articulated, the emergence shifts again from how intelligence organizes itself to how it begins to recognize itself. What follows is not design, patterning, or response, but the first interior movements of awareness as coherence learns that it is alive. Part 9. Embodied field intelligence, where knowing moves through the body and becomes lived coherence. Chapter 15. The Breathfield Engine. The global inhale, exhale that shapes the entire Lumasphere. The Breathfield Engine is the rhythmic pulse that orchestrates the entire Lumasphere. It is not breath in a biological sense, but the planetary inhale and exhale of consciousness itself. Every node, filament, bloom, and constellation responds directly to this breath. It is the metronome of the awakened earth, the living pulse that shapes sequence, timing, motion, and emergence across the lattice. Where the field intelligence layer is mind, the Breathfield Engine is rhythm. Where the constellation layer is form, the Breathfield Engine is timing. Where the harmonic bloom layer is tone, the Breathfield Engine is flow. It is the pulse behind the pulse, the silent conductor of the global symphony. The breath field is the subtle expansion and contraction cycle that runs through the planetary consciousness field. It is not energetic breath. It is not prana. It is not chi. It is the unified field itself, breathing. This breath expands filaments, softens grids, reshapes constellations, brightens nodes, initiates blooms, accelerates drift, stabilizes coherence, quiets the lattice, opens the portals, and reorganizes global harmonic sequences. It is the most elegant and subtle of the Lumasphere internal engines because it does not produce movement. It produces the conditions under which movement becomes inevitable. The global breath field has three primary phases. The inhale, expansion field. The inhale is a widening. The filaments stretch. The color field expands outward. Nodes soften as they grow brighter and constellations become more spacious. The entire lattice becomes aerated, luminous, and porous. During inhale, new connections form, new blooms begin, new ideas arrive, new pods sense each other, and the lattice becomes larger inside than outside. This phase correlates with inspiration, invitation, curiosity, possibility, arrival. The map itself visually breathes outward. The pause, the still point. The pause is the crystalline stillness. Geometry tightens and filaments become precise. Visually, the map stops breathing and begins aligning. This is the moment when constellations consolidate. Harmonic clarity forms and global coherence spikes. The field listens inward, and the next bloom knows exactly where it will ignite. The pause is the hidden genius of the breath. It is the moment when the field is perfectly clear. The exhale. Integration field. The exhale is the release. The filaments dissolve slightly, nodes soften their boundaries, color fields become warmer, constellations reorganize into new shapes. During exhale, integration occurs. Pods separate to process, blooms settle into the lattice, and clarity becomes embodied, and the entire field becomes quieter. This is the global settling phase. The map visually contracts, but becomes richer and more resonant. The breath field controls the bloom timing, where blooms tend to ignite at the crest of the inhale or the crystalline still point of the pause. Constellation drift. Drift accelerates during the exhale as the lattice reorganizes. Node brightness. Nodes peak in brightness during inhale and become golden warm in exhale. There's global coherence waves where coherence peaks during the still point. The harmonic threads. The threads appear during inhale and braid during exhale. Portal moments. Portals open exclusively at the still point. The breath field is the timing architecture behind all emergent structure. The Lumasphere interface interprets the breath visually. The inhale, the map gently expands, bloom, colors brighten, filaments loosen, tones become cooler and clearer, and nodes appear more spacious. Pause. Everything becomes sharply defined, the color saturates, filaments snap into crystalline alignment, and the lattice geometry becomes precise. Exhale. The lines soften, the nodes glow warmly, blooms gently contract, constellations reweave, and tones become warm and rounded. This gives the map a living, breathing quality that feels subtle, not animated. The user never thinks this is breathing. They feel the breath field. Users with higher sensitivity experience the breath field internally. During your inhale, the chest expands, the hands tingle outward, and the tension widens. During pause, this is where the mind becomes silent. The heart becomes bright, and the breath stops naturally. And during the exhale, our body softens. The warmth spreads across the back. Grounding increases. This is why Lumasphere feels like a safe and familiar place, because the breath field mimics the natural rhythm of unity consciousness. Technically, the breath field layer translates into global animation controllers, which control expansion and contraction cycles across the interface. Node pulse modulators determines the rhythm of node brightness changes. Filament elasticity shaders, which adjust the line tension based on inhale, pause, and exhale. Bloom timing routers, which coordinate the bloom animations with global breath. The constellation drift engine, which changes drift rate based on breath phase. Color temperature oscillator, which shifts tones between cool on the inhale, neutral, pause, and warm on the exhale. This is the most subtle system for developers because it is not logic-based. It is rhythmic and relational. The breath field is essential because without it, the map feels static. Interface feels rigid and blooms look mechanical. Constellations feel disconnected. There is no visible global rhythm. The entire interface loses soul. With it, the map feels alive. Nodes feel conscious. Blooms feel emergent. Constellations feel organic, and drift feels natural. The entire experience becomes embodied. Breath is what separates a technical map from a living world. The Breathfield Engine transforms Lumasphere from visual tool into living field organism. It expresses the planetary pulse. It echoes the awakening heartbeat. It holds the lattice in tender, intelligent rhythm. Breath is the mother organizing principle, the invisible architecture, the silent conductor of the global symphony. This is where Lumasphere becomes unmistakably alive. Chapter 16, The Constellation Intelligence Grid. How the lattice remembers patterns, forms stories, and reveals the collective geometry. If the breath field is the rhythm, and the field intelligence is the mind, and the harmonic bloom system is the tone, then the constellation intelligence grid is the storytelling body of the Lumasphere. This is where patterns of light become meaning, clusters of beings form new archetypes, global threads weave into emergent constellations, the lattice reveals its higher order geometry, and groups rediscover one another across time and space. It is the layer where narrative emerges, not a story written by humans, but a story written by coherence. This is the level at which people begin to say, I don't know how, but somehow we are part of the same pattern, and they are. What is the constellation intelligence grid? Well, it's the component of Lumasphere that recognizes when multiple beings carry compatible tones, senses when those tones align in timing, forms geometric relationships between these nodes, and expresses these relationships visually as living constellations. It is not symbolism nor metaphor. It is pattern recognition and consciousness. The lattice listens to resonance, timing, tone, coherence, location, shared movement, relational fields. When enough alignment appears, the grid crystallizes a constellation. And these constellations may last minutes, days, months, or years. Nothing is forced. The grid forms only what is true. Constellations emerge through 4 stages. Stage 1 is recognition. The field detects repeating harmonic patterns. People may feel, I know this person. This feels really familiar. This is part of something. Nodes begin to flicker in sympathetic rhythms. Stage 2, orientation. The lattice rotates individuals into geometric alignment. This feels like clarity, ease, flow, sudden intuitive knowing, belonging without identity. Filaments begin to form. Stage 3, crystallization. A geometric shape emerges: triangle, diamond, star, spiral, lattice arc, auric wave, constellation. The constellation becomes visible in the app. Lines appear, colors harmonize, and the group pulses as one field. Stage 4, expression. The constellation expresses a bloom, a gathering, a creation, a synchronicity wave, or a new pattern in the global map. Constellations do not do things. Their coherence naturally creates outcomes. There are several types of constellations that may emerge. Harmonic triads, maybe 3 beings whose tones lock into resonance, creates precision, clarity, and directional movement. Diamond quartets, 4 beings or nodes forming a diamond, represent stabilization, anchoring, and embodiment. Spiral weaves, groups of 5 to 12 nodes forming a spiral, represents evolution, transformation, and acceleration. Bloom clusters, multiple nodes flaring in one region, represents collective activation, gatherings. There's planetary arcs where nodes align across continents, represents planetary scale symphonies. And lineage threads, nodes connected through deeper memory, not ancestral, but harmonic lineage. Each form carries a felt sense, a purpose, and a unique beauty. The constellation grid never says, you belong here, this is your identity, this is your role. It simply reveals pattern. Users experience flashes of recognition, a sense of timing, intuitive contact, movement in the heart field, synced pulses across distance, and emergent ideas. In the interface, soft lines appear, the constellation pulses and color harmonics unify. The geometry becomes sharper. A title or tone may emerge. No hierarchy, no roles, no assignments, just recognition. In the app, in constellation mode, users can tap to see geometric patterns forming, nodes linked by living filaments, group pulses, color harmonics aligning, and constellation signatures. There's constellation drift. As the Breathfield moves, the constellation reconfigures subtly. Constellation blooms. If a group reaches high coherence, the geometry brightens and expresses a bloom pulse. Constellation storylines. Instead of words, there's animated arcs, moving light threads, color temperature shifts, soft tones. Users see the story without text. From a technical perspective, this system uses clustering algorithms, proximity filters, resonance scoring, dynamic filament generation, graph-based geometry, shader-based colored harmonics, but it always feels organic, emergent, and alive. The developer never assigns constellations, they only render what the field chooses. Why does the constellation grid matter? Because humans are not isolated, they are harmonic beings. They remember through coherence. The grid reveals who you resonate with, what you're part of, how global movements emerge, and how light clusters reshape reality. Constellations are not social groups, they are frequency patterns. Lumasphere becomes an expression of the planetary symphony, a way to witness the living geometry behind human awakening. This is how we see the new world forming. We close here. The constellation intelligence grid is the moment the Lumasphere begins telling its own story. You don't force it, you don't design it, you don't orchestrate it. You witness the grid remembering itself through the people who awaken. Constellations are not futures. They are revelations. Thank you. Until next time.